What's up, Internet? My friend Dallas was here in town. Dallas, who goes by Puzzlebox on Discord, is an excellent Gretchen pilot, a great PDH player, and we sat down, we talked about Simic commanders, specifically Weavers and Gretchen, and how they interact with Freed. Dallas shared some opinions, including that maybe there should be some bans made. We recorded this conversation, and we want to share it with you. Before we cut to that, I want to share something. At the end of this year, December 13th, we are going to have a CPDH Commander Clash for the year of 2025. What this means is that only unique commanders that were printed in 2025 are going to be legal in this tournament. We want to see which of the commanders that have come out this year are the best. I want to see your best brews. There's going to be a link below, two links. One link where you can see all the commanders that will be legal for the tournament. The second will be a registration link to topdeck.gg. I hope to see you there. Now, let's get to the conversation.
If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe. Even support us on Patreon. Now let's go.
Hey, we're gonna rant about Simic Combo and PDH. So you were just telling me about how you came to Gretchen as a commander, and then we're gonna look at her compared to Weavers because they do something very similar. But you were just telling me the story how you found her and decided to start playing her. Tell that story again, because I think that's kind of cool.
So whenever I picked up Gretchen, it wasn't because I wanted to play Gretchen for Pauper Commander. I wanted to play in a $100 CEDH budget event. And me and some of the other Pauper Commander guys were talking about playing Pauper decks because we're like, we'll bring Pauper decks. It can't go bad, right? Surely. It's just have fun. And I wanted to play Weavers because I thought that would translate best to CEDH. But obviously Weavers aren't legendary. So you can't play Weavers. So I was like, just look through Simic outlets in the command zone and see what you can find. And I think Gretchen released pretty recently before that. And I was like, card draw, puts a land into play. Decent outlet, probably the best generic Simic outlet we have in the command zone. I'll just play that.
Yeah.
And it started doing a lot better than I expected.
And I've heard from multiple people that you are the person who found Gretchen and started being like, oh, this is good. And so on PDH level was the first person to be like, yo, this has got some potential. Let's figure out
when
how
I was play testing it was doing way better than I expected. I know Jonathan, XRLYL, his list I found, and I took that initially, and I changed a lot of it because I didn't like it, but I worked with him on that whenever I initially started building it. Obviously, not recently, but after that point, Bobby started getting really into Gretchen, so he plays a lot of Gretchen.
Yeah.
Him and I work together on the list a lot now, but it's gotten pretty popular.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say.
Yeah.
I pushed Gretchen a lot.
And I want to talk about that later, but you have some points that you want to talk about, so let's cover those. And then as you get through them, I'll chime in with some thoughts. And also I've been looking at some of the game data, as we've been working on a system that will be coming soon to cpdh.guide, the website. But we've been looking at different ways of orienting the data. So I want to talk about that as well. But you have the points, and you're the expert here. So I'm going to just listen.
Yeah, so I think the general topic that I kind of want to cover after recent tournaments is Simic, freed combo.deck an issue for the format? Obviously it's something people have complained about here and there, but a lot of people like the simplicity of the ban list of our format, right? It's Rhystic Mystic, cards that are clearly too strong for every deck ever. But I know Gretchen won a tournament, a month ago or something?
I know it won in Minneapolis.
Yeah, one in Minneapolis. And then last week, as of recording, Weavers just won a tournament in Detroit area, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
they had an interesting list as well. Yeah. I think there was people who might be newer to the meta because it looked very different than lists that I had seen more regularly.
It looked a lot closer to old school Weavers.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And unless the more hybrid version that's been trending more towards Gretchen cards.
Yeah.
It was very focused on the turbo, play the cantrips that untap or don't even cantrip, just what's it called, Vitalize or whatever. 1 mana untap a creature or all your creatures, whatever it is. Like they were playing cards like that,
Yeah.
which work a lot better in Weavers than Gretchen because you have guaranteed mana positive untapper in your command zone off of those.
Yeah.
Which is why they're playing them, right? So I thought that was interesting. But at the end of the day, Weavers and Gretchen accomplish the same thing. So I just wanted to talk about, is Simic free deck an issue as a template? I mean, theoretically, even if you were to ban the commanders, you could play like River Hoopa or whatever. It'd be less good, but it's still like the core of the deck is still questionable as to whether it's an issue or not.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about potential ways maybe that can be addressed, be it through meta developments or if we want to ban something theoretically, argue for or against that. Are there any cards that you think are problematic at all that come to your head? Yes or no? Or do you think it's actually a problem?
I'm like, the only card that's genuinely difficult to handle in Gretchen specifically is generally Oboro, because if you're not running blue and I have a way to answer this on the stack, like it's done. The game's done. Or you have, it's not guaranteed, I think, in some situations, but it's oftentimes like, yeah, that could be the game, and you just can't do anything because if you play something on top of it to kill a Boro, for example, Gretchen could just go over top of it many times if it has enough mana ready to invest. So I would say of the cards, like not knowing all the points and all the like nuances you want to explore, Oboro is the only card that I've played against where I've been like, all right, this is really tough, and if we don't have a blue player, like we're kind of stuck with this. But yeah, I'm curious because you played it a lot more, so I'm curious what your analysis is, and I'm also curious about the idea of bans. Because I tend to be on the side of like, if you ban a card for this deck, it kind of just supports other decks that are going to be doing the same thing. And the data on Gretchen, we can get to like player data in a minute. I'm very excited for that part because that's something I've been looking at very recently. But yeah, tell me about some of the specific cards and what you're thinking are like some of the strong points or difficult to answer points of Gretchen and Weavers.
So I think realistically, if you're looking at bans, like we have here, if you can see, I don't know, but we have sectioned out like these are the untappers and these are the land enchantments. There's way too many of those. There's no way you can effectively like ban 1 card, 2 cards, 5 cards in those sections that does anything.
Yeah.
Like there's just too many. So I think your options, if you're looking at bans, are either you ban the commander, which I don't think is an elegant solution. I don't like that as a solution conceptually. I think your options are either a Boro if you do want to hit specifically Gretchen, or if you want to hit all the Simic freed decks, you just hit freed from the real. Which, like, there are still other replacements. Like in this list, I'm playing Immobilizing Ink, which can function as a freed from the real.
And this is a card I'm not super familiar with, so I'm going to read it out. It's a colorless, or it's 1 and a blue, enchant creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Enchanted creature has 1 mana and discard a card.
Not 1 mana. Or it is 1 mana. Yeah, no, it's the discard that hurts. Yeah, no.
1 mana and discard a card from your hand, untap this creature. So it's colorless, but I don't think that probably matters. But yeah, the downside of also having to discard, she's going to give you card advantage, but having to then immediately put that into getting more untaps doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I was thinking Singing Bell Strike, which is a card that people used to play, which is like 8 mana untapped, but the same like kind of stasis,
or
creature
like
stays tapped effect.
There's the new one from Dragonstorm. Is it Dragonstorm or is it Aether Drift?
Yeah, Surging Dragon Strike or whatever.
Yeah. It's like 5 mana untapped.
It's just a better not immobilizing, a better Singing Bell Strike, basically.
Yeah.
And that one's seen a little bit of play as well. But like those are technically freed from the real, but they require more setup. So for Immobilizing Ink, you're not going to net cards. So you basically just use ink to get mana positive until you can find freed from the real, and then do like your guaranteed infinite. But like
gotcha.
Immobilizing Ink draws through the deck and goes mana positive, but you're not netting cards, so it's not infinite because you have to draw off Gretchen every time before you have that infinite mana.
So for you, this is not actually a way to win. It's a way to dig while getting mana until you can find an alternate that's going to be able to...
You can win with it if you really want to, because you're netting enough mana that you can put the rest of your land enchantments into play and then do Reclaim, Archaeomancer, Capsize, Mystic Sanctuary loops.
Yeah.
But that's way more involved. It's usually a lot easier to go, okay, I have 30 mana freed, and I have 3 counterspells in hand.
Gotcha.
Cool? All right.
Yeah.
So usually it just gets you 2, but it can be a replacement for freed. You just have to explain the line out a lot more.
Gotcha.
But yes, it is effectively freed.
Okay.
But your land has to tap for a lot more because you have to use Gretchen in that loop because you're losing a card every time.
Yeah.
So with freed,
So you need to be able to replace the card with Gretchen.
Yeah. With freed, it's just, all right, my guy taps for 2 mana. As long as one of it's blue, I have infinite. Cool. Whereas Ink is, it has to tap for 6 mana to go mana positive because you have to get the Gretchen activation to replace that card.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a Boro Breeze Caller, broken in Gretchen doesn't do much in the other decks. It's still like a ritual card. Like if your land taps for 4, you're paying float 4, 5 with the land you're bouncing, bounce it back.
And you'd have to have a way to put in one of the the guys that puts a land in, but that's just extra
to go
steps.
Infinite. Yeah, you can do that, which some
It
decks
seems
like
a waste of-
Tatiova does.
Yeah, well, Tatiova makes sense because it's doing some different stuff.
It's doing Tidal War lines. But yeah, for most decks, it's just a ritual. Like this land taps for 4, I'll float and I'll bounce the rest of my lands. I'm going all in. I have 20 mana.
Now you were pointing at freed. You're also saying that there's some Simic commanders. So are you only referring to Gretchen and Weavers, or are you including things like Tatiova?
Mainly those two. The freed decks.
Yeah.
Tatiova typically doesn't play freed from the wheel. So Tatiova is more like a flicker deck, which is a different category of combo deck, and I don't think that's problematic. We haven't seen Tatiova see much tournament play recently.
It showed up in Minneapolis, and it did well. I think it made it to the final table.
I think it was it final table?
Yeah, it was in the finals. It was Xiaojun, Malcolm, Gretchen, and Tatiova.
Yeah, so Tatiova keeps popping up here and there.
Yeah.
But it's not one you see at every single event.
No.
You will always see a free deck right now.
Yeah.
Be it Gretchen or Weavers.
Yeah.
There's pretty much guaranteed one of them at pretty much every event, it seems like. Whereas, Tatiova is people will play with it every once in a while and be like, remember this deck? And test if people remember what Tidal War lines look like.
I wonder if, because Clay did a video where he included talks about Tatiova and its ability to perform with other combo decks, and he put that video out not long ago. And my understanding in Minneapolis was that it was more players who are coming from a CEDH. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if they're not as familiar, if they're going out looking for that new content, and that inspired, because there's a lot of Tatiova. I think there was at least 4 or 6 decks, something in that range. Yeah. Because usually I'm in the same boat. I see a Tatiova every now and then, and I'm like, okay, you're doing Tatiova. I kind of know how to handle you. But yeah, I was surprised at how prevalent it was there. Anyway, okay, so we're talking about Weavers and Gretchen.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. The freed decks. If you're playing freed, there are 3 color commanders that kind of do it. What's her name? Lagrella can do it, which is just Simic plus white.
Yeah, wait, so you've seen builds of Lagrella that are doing this kind of line?
No, usually they do flicker,
but
they could play freed.
Yeah.
I think it leans more into flicker generally.
But
regardless, we're talking about the Simic freed. I have an untapper for my land that has enchantments, and I'm going infinite by making that mana, looping that untapper.
Yeah.
They're definitely prevalent. You see them a lot. If you look at the stats for cpdh.guide, if you look at the top commanders, Gretchen is number 1, Weaver's number 2. And not by a small amount in terms of not only their win rate, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Weavers is more impressive win rate wise, but if you look at games played, they have by far the most games out of like any deck.
And represented in the top 4.
Heavily represented, really good win rates. I think Gretchen's at like 32 or something, and Weaver's is higher, but with less games, so a bit more variance. But like they're consistently played, they're consistently doing well for over a year now.
Yeah.
If you look at year to date, I think Gretchen has almost 50 tournament event wins in a round.
Yeah.
Like 50 round wins or something like that. And we don't have that many tournaments, so it's kind of insane. And I think it prompts the question: is Gretchen and Weaver's a problem?
Do you experience this? Do you experience it as a problem? Like, is it a problem that you are keen to solve as someone who plays PDH?
I think I don't play PDH as much as I used to, obviously.
Yeah. And when you do play, you're playing Gretchen.
Yeah.
You're like, I know what works.
So, for me, it is kind of a problem because I feel like there's nothing else I'm even considering playing. If I go to an event, it's Gretchen or maybe Malcolm Breaches if I feel like the meta is going to be way too heavily against Gretchen. But even when people are teching against Gretchen, I feel like Gretchen's still the best option.
She's extremely resilient.
Yeah. So I can see it being an issue. I can understand the argument.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needs hit or not, or if the meta just isn't developing in a way that actually stops these kind of decks.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be after they've been this prevalent for so long. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's absurd to ask for something.
For at least for it to be thought about.
Yeah.
And because one of the things that I've been doing is we've been looking at player data, and we've also been looking at when you take the aggregate of how many games are played, because a lot of people see that Gretchen and Weavers are at the top, and so a lot of players gravitate toward it. And when you consider its performance across the board, it actually doesn't do as well as some other decks because you have a lot of pilots. Not all of them are as experienced or as familiar with the lines,
right.
And may not play the timing out as correctly, things like this. So overall, it doesn't look like they are super dominant in the last year. Because one of the things that happens with the way Dot Guide currently presents data is accumulated. So you're looking at everything. And so they go straight to the top of the board. When you look at the last year and what's happened in just the last year, they aren't as dominant. Now, what is interesting, though, is that they tend to come out on top from tournaments. And it's curious for me, as someone who goes to tournaments, does that mean that, I found that when I was in Minneapolis, I had to be very vocal about communicating what's going on with the Gretchen deck, with the Weaver's deck, and saying, we need to kill that now. This is not something that we can just wait around and mess around and see what happens. And, the combo decks are more focused on getting their win, so they're maybe not responding as much to those decks. Whereas the players who have more mid-range, more control, were like, oh, I didn't know that. They didn't fully understand the lines. So there is also, meta awareness. Because when you play a deck like this with meta awareness, I think that you have a big difference in how those games play out.
Right.
You've also played here, and you played here for several games when we were just starting to develop PDH in our community, and you stopped in many games, and it was only on the last of those, I think, 4 games where everyone was like, oh, okay, now we understand what Gretchen does, and then it's okay, pause everything, we need to handle this problem, and then we'll come back to what we wanted to do. But the other thing that happens when you have sort of that singularity at the table is whichever person is able to best continue to answer you as a problem while also developing their board is the one who's going to come out of that, the Gretchen phase of the game until the Gretchen players get dead, and then be all right, well, now I've got a dominant state because we've not been focusing on me at all. So it definitely does shift things. It is curious though, because if you play a Malcolm deck, it's similar. Everyone, or if you have multiple combo decks where this combo player doesn't care what's going on. He's yeah, sure, you're doing Gretchen things, but I'm doing Malcolm things. I'll see you at the finish line.
Yep.
We'll see who gets there first.
Who has the counterspell in hand for the win attempt, and or who just gets there before anyone interacts.
Yeah. And so it is interesting, because if you want a really diverse metagame, then isolating where those singularities happen and then addressing them is a great way to increase diversity. But if you are more interested in, you talked about how we have a 2-card ban list. That's really nice. if you want simplicity, ease of access, and if you want these like benchmark decks where it's you need to go into a tournament knowing I'm going to be facing waivers, I'm going to be facing Gretchen, one or the other or both, and I need to be ready to handle that level of problem. Like, it's an interesting thing. But I'm curious, so you also said you haven't been as active in PDH. Is the lack of diversity a part of that?
Not as much. I mean, I just started picking up Yu-Gi-Oh! A couple of years ago, and I just kind of got pretty heavy into that. It's a lot easier to play that locally where I am. So that's definitely part of it. I like the 1v1 aspect, but I still come back to PDH, obviously. I'm still here talking about it.
He's here!
I'll be back every once in a while, peek my head in, try it out again.
Yeah.
I think the lack of anything actually, like, to me, dethroning Gretchen is part of it, where it's like, oh, well, I'm still just going to play Gretchen or Malcolm.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't know. I know people like to... There's plenty of diversity being, like, innovated on. Like, if you look at play data, like, combo is 25% of the representation about both year-to-date and all-time data.
Yeah.
It's right around that 23 to, like, 26% range, and mid-range is 36 to 40% representation. Like, mid-range heavily represented. People are always playing mid-range.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything that makes me go, wow, that's better than Gretchen.
Yeah. And one thing that I think you and I can probably agree on, I don't love mid-range decks. Now, some of the decks that I have been accused of being mid-range. I don't think they are based on the way that I choose to pilot them. But when you're playing mid-range, it's nice to have a lot of flexibility, and that's what mid-range tends to go toward, is I'm not going to be fully control, I'm not going to be fully aggro. I'm going to do some stuff in the middle where I'm going to try and push tempo, but I'm also going to be ready to respond to a combo player, something that's going to get put on the stack that I want to handle. My observation of a lot of mid-range decks is they tend to not have as strong a game plan. They have flexibility, but that also means they don't have as clear, like, this is what I'm going to do to win. They're generally navigating and fluid through what's happening. Whereas I've played with Gretchen players, and it's so annoying sometimes because there's a problem at the table, and they're like, yeah, but I could try to win this turn. Like, they don't care what you're doing, and they're so strong in this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I do think that's one place where mid-range suffers, is that if you're too fluid, you're not going to have strong enough of focus, and you're not going to be driving for your win, whatever it is. Where, like, if you're Voltron, that's a pretty strong statement. Like, you have a plan, and you can start to orient everything you're doing around that. And you can have, like, Voltron doesn't mean you can't not have answers. And usually
we're going to know what Alexios is
doing. Yeah, you know what Alexios is doing.
Right? Yeah. I think to that point, I'm also not a fan of non-combo mid-range. But this, I would call a mid-range deck.
You'd call this a mid-range? Interesting.
This is my interaction suite, right? I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 pieces of interaction, not to mention some of the more modal interaction. Mm-hmm. It's mid-range in the sense that, like, yes, obviously I'm working towards combo.
Yeah.
But my game plan is establish mana, use my draw engine to not die until I see my combo.
Yeah.
So instead of beating people down, my win condition is a combo of 2 cards.
Yeah.
But the game plan is very much still like, I'm going to do my thing and stop other people until I get my win. And obviously it's combo, so a lot of people see it as just greedy, oh, I'm full boring towards combo. But they always forget, like, the random spot removal that gets thrown out. Put a spell bomb down turn 1. Like, it's so threatening. That card's broken. I love Aether Spell Bomb. But, like, the interaction's still really strong. The counter spells you want to use to protect yourself, obviously. But since your game plan's already sitting there with mana, you're always ready to deal with any actual threat. Like, if Dargo's swinging lethal at you, bounce it.
Yeah.
Like,
turn it into a 1/1.
Yeah, if there's a combo, you're going to interact and save the table. But since statistically, once again, like 25% of the meta is combo, so if I'm playing Gretchen statistically speaking, I'm not going to see combo that often.
Because you're the 25% of the table.
But like, if you're not seeing combo that much, the one combo deck does get to be extremely greedy because my interaction only gets pointed at a creature if it's swinging lethal at me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're swinging Dargo at someone else.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And
I'm not going to interact with that.
And I was just talking to Scarecrow on some Discord recently where we were talking about like holding up for interaction, how that can be problematic because it means you're sacrificing development. One of the things that's awesome about Gretchen is you have such a nice balance and again, like a certain level of fluidity of you can hold up interaction. If someone tries to do something, you can interact with it if you want to do or if you need to. And if you don't, you can just switch over to progress at instant speed.
That's turn 3, 4, 5, 6. And a lot of games, like it's either you put down a land untapper or a land enchantment and you pass.
Yeah.
And like whatever mana you have left over, you sit there and wait. And if no one does anything, which if there's not combo, they're probably not doing anything I care about.
Yeah.
Because it's turn 4, turn 5. Like, what? Alexios is going to swing for me the second time? Like, okay, I've still got 5 more damage I can take. I'll draw a card. I don't need to interact with that yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's like the really strong game plan of Gretchen specifically. Weavers is a bit
because you
tougher
put so
to do
much
that.
Investment to get your draw engine online because it's 4 and then 7. Yeah, it's a lot. So it's 11 mana to draw 2 cards, whereas this is 10. So 10 to draw 2, but again, you can sort of break that up. Whereas
and you get to put 2 lands into play, so it helps you do your game plan more because you have access to more mana faster.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Weavers is a lot more all in on winning when they want to, and they have the consistency to always, if they have the Freed in hand, they can like put enough mana advantage onto the board to win the game. They only need to find 1 card, whereas Gretchen has to find an untapper and an enchantment because their untapper is not net positive by default.
Yeah.
And the untap Freed or whatever. So Gretchen has to find 3 pieces minimum, whereas Weavers has to find 1 minimum.
Yeah.
So Weavers is a lot more consistent at presenting that win and gets a lot more flexibility in the main deck because they don't have to play this package.
Yeah.
But you also lose access to this package as being just mana advantage throughout the game, which is what Gretchen gets to do. So
I have some questions about your specific list. Before we do that, so if you were to pick 3 cards and rank them of like, here are the cards that I think most should be considered for bans. And like I said, I am in the mindset of I would rather sit down at a table and be like, I know Gretchen's going to be here. What am I going to do about it? But let's say that the data shows it is really super dominant. Something should get banned. Something should be done. Which 3 cards are you looking at?
Yeah, I think I would also advocate for just get good.
Get good.
I think Freed is probably like the most generic, like if it's in both Gretchen and Weavers and any other Simic deck that wants to play on tappers, Freed is just like the one that would go.
Yeah.
If you want to hit specifically Gretchen, I think Aboro, because like I said, Aboro, I'm going to give you guys the secret. If you're not playing blue and they cast Aboro, you can kill the Gretchen, and then they have to recast the Gretchen, and then you can kill the Aboro. So they still...
so to reset the priority so that there's not the loop going on.
Yeah, so then
so you need 2 pieces of interaction at the table with enough mana.
And they can still ritual with the Aboro at that point. But they can't put the lands back into play to actually go infinite. So as long as there's 2 pieces of removal, you don't need a counter spell to stop the Aboro. But you have to make sure Aboro and Gretchen aren't on the table at the same time.
Yeah.
So if Gretchen's in play and they cast Aboro, if you kill Gretchen, then they have to recast Gretchen to do the actual loop, so you can then kill the Aboro. I've literally never had that happen to me. People don't understand how the loop works well enough, but that's how you beat Aboro if you're not playing blue.
Yeah.
A third card? I mean, I think those are like the only two that are actually worth hitting if you're not hitting the commander itself.
Yeah.
I
Because I
suppose
know
you
that
can
there's the
hit,
Arcanomancer snap line, but honestly, the fact
so
that
bad.
it's not like super strong, it's not super dependable. Like you said, you're not going for that as your primary line to win. Ink has a heavy cost with the discard.
Yeah, it's niche.
Yeah.
You could hit Drift of Phantasms or like some of the tutors if you wanted to hit like more than one card, or even just hit one card to just hit consistency, but not stop the deck from being able to do its thing.
Yeah.
You could hit like Drift, or one of the Wizard Cyclers could be a good hit. Things like that.
But again, those are just finding these two pieces. So you feel that these are the two pieces. If you want to target Gretchen, you'd hit Oboro. If you want to hit Freed, you're going to affect more of the Simics, the two Freed decks that we've been talking about.
Yeah, because if you hit Freed, Weavers is really Weavers is in a really rough spot. I think Gretchen's still playable. Definitely a lot worse.
Yeah.
But I think the whole reason to play Weavers is Freed. So if you hit Freed, it does hurt Weavers even more, which I think is not necessarily what you want to do, but, it's a thing.
Now, going more to like a deck tech kind of thing, we have Gretchen right here in front of us, so we'll talk about some of these cards, and then I also have some questions for you about how you would build Weavers if you were going back to it today. So I'm curious, what is Dizzy Spell looking for?
So Dizzy Spell is able to fetch a couple of things, but mainly I'm using it in the mid game to get to either a land enchantment that nets mana with Wild Growth Utopia Sprawl.
Arbor Elf?
You can get so it can get you to your untapper. It can get you to your mana enchantment. If you need protection, it gets you Divines of Vastwood.
High Tide might be relevant?
High Tide is an option.
Okay.
Or not Utopia Sprawl. Urban Burgeoning is in here somewhere.
Here it is.
And that card is the most broken value card we have in this deck. Like, across the course of a turn cycle. It's one land seed.
Okay, so Urban Burgeoning is an enchant land. Enchanted land has untap this land during each other player's untap step. Actually, that's an interesting question. So we have Waterbender's skin thing coming out in Avatar.
Yeah.
Is that something that would be, because you have the ability to use it almost every turn, is that something that would find its place in?
I haven't seen the card.
It's a 3 mana rock, but it untaps on every player's untap step.
I think it's considerable. Urban Burgeoning is a lot better because it's cheaper and it goes on your land. So it's like, if you have a land that taps for 4, it's Gretchen activation every single turn for an entire turn cycle, or however long it sticks.
Yeah.
So it's, even if your land only taps for 1, it's fine. But the fact that your land can tap for 2 to
3, 4, 5, 6.
If it's tapping for more than 1, that card's absurd. But even if it only taps for 1, like for 1 mana investment, and you have your Gretchen activations every turn, it's really good. So that's like a really good mid-game target. But you have at least one option in every slot, no matter what you're looking for, at 1 mana.
For Dizzy Spell to come and find something, it can find you protection, it can find you a counter spell. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing it doesn't get you directly is an untapper. Like your win condition.
Oh, your win conditions, gotcha.
Stuff. So if you really want to, you could play Lifespark Spellbomb as a 1 mana Hydro form that you can search with Dizzy Spell, and then you could play Trinket Mage if you want to go down that route. That kind of stuff, which gets you access through your Wizard Cyclers to the land animator, which, there's routes you can take for all that stuff too. But
now, I'm curious about Merchant Scroll, because you were also saying before we got on camera that is often something that you have a hard time picking, like what to go for with it. Why do you run it? And if you are running it, what is the benefit of running it?
Yeah, so Merchant Scroll and Dizzy Spell are also part of the reason I would argue this is more of a mid-range deck, because most of the time those tutors are not getting you win conditions like you would expect them to. Most of the time with Merchant Scroll, honestly, I'm searching counter spells. That's what I find a lot at the time, or protection, like removal.
Gotcha.
Sapphire Charm, hard casting Step Through is something that I do, although you can't search Step Through because it's not an instant. But we've been messing around with Hydroform as a way to like win the game, kind of off of
To
your merchant scroll.
bypass your
Yeah, so,
untapper need.
so your merchant scroll can get you to an untapper if you animate the land for
Mhm.
combo purposes. But before that, it was mostly going either counterspell or you search Muddle the Mixture so that it's a counterspell that you can also use to transmute later if you need to
Gotcha.
get whatever piece you need. So it's like, I feel like Merchant Scroll is like the 100th card in the deck right now, which is kind of crazy because it's a tutor.
I haven't heard that phrase, but as soon as you say it's the 100th card, I know exactly what the one most easily swapped out for something else.
It's a tutor, but it's not great.
Yeah.
Which feels weird, but...
Now, with building Weavers, because I looked up a bunch of Weavers decks preparing for this conversation, and I was surprised. Generally, when I'm building a commander deck, I don't want... There's certain effects I want redundancy for, but the fact that I have an untapper in the command zone, and I've got a bunch of things in the deck that are focused on ramping me, I was surprised to see how many lists ran additional untappers in addition to the one in the command zone. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on it, and if you were to build Weavers, which of the untappers would you include, and like which ones are? Because we know Arbor Elf is the only 1 mana card.
Yeah.
But like, what of these are you going to absolutely keep, and which of them are like just not worth considering?
Yeah.
For that build.
I think you have to keep Arbor Elf. Like turn 1 untapper is so good.
Yeah.
Especially if you have it into a turn 2 enchantment, even if it's a 3 mana enchantment, like it's really good. You can't cut Arbor Elf ever, I don't think. A lot of the old lists were pretty much only playing Arbor Elf and Voyaging Satyr. Some of them would, because it's 2 mana and it's still good. We have additional 2 mana untappers now from like Modern Horizons and stuff. We have Prime Tender. We have Sculptor of Winter, so we have snow untappers.
Yeah.
Which is also why you need snowlands for this deck. Like, I've gotten comments on the list before, and they're like, "Do you need snowlands?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, because you lose untappers."
Because this is a big pile. This is what 15 cards, maybe
it's
3.
I can't remember the number.
It's like so 13 cards. So it's not. You're most likely going to have one. If that gets handled, you need to find another, and having those options cut down when that's a fundamental part of your deck.
Yeah, but for Weavers, like...
I feel like, it's like the cards that are going to give you multiple... So there's the one that has Threshold, untap 3.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Arbor Elf.
Yeah, Croson. There is...
Stone Cedar? But Stone Cedar seems to work better here.
Yeah, Stone Cedar is way better, and it's 4 mana, which is the same slot as your commander.
Yeah.
And if you don't do like lands coming into play, it's worse than Weaver.
Yeah, so like why run it at that point? So yeah, maybe like the 1 mana, a couple of the 2 mana. There's also the 4. Like again, this is replacing the command slot, so it kind of looks at my commander gets handled multiple times. There's the one from the D&D set that untaps 2 things at sorcery speed.
Mm-hmm. The 5 mana one or whatever.
Is it 5 mana? Okay, but
I think so.
So you have that guy as well.
Permanents.
But I still feel like you just want your cheap stuff because that's helping you through the early game.
Definitely everything that's 2 or less.
2 or less.
So once you hit the 3 mana slot,
5 of them.
I'd say you might still play Clever Conjurer if you want a wizard target. He's not a good untapper because he's sorcery speed, but he is our only wizard untapper.
Gotcha.
So if you want to play the wizard package...
So that way you can find him more reliably.
Yeah, but since you have access in the command zone, I don't think you even need Clever Conjurer.
Okay.
So probably just all your 2 mana ones and 1 mana ones. I don't really see a reason to play any of the others. I think you still play a good chunk of land enchantments. Yeah. Maybe not all of them. Like Urban Burgeoning is a lot worse than Weavers because you don't have the 4 mana activations. You have 7 mana activations, so it's a lot less likely to be getting value consistently. Even though it's still good for like holding up interaction mana, that's a lot more important in Gretchen. So you don't need like the mini Seedborn, but like most of your land enchantments, you're probably still playing You maybe can get away with cutting some of the 3-mana ones that only add 1 mana net positive.
Yeah, because you've got the 4-mana ones that net you
Because,
2
4-mana
more.
ones are great.
Yeah.
The 2-mana one, there was only one of. There's only a couple 1-mana ones. You probably still play, like, Glittering Frost to turn lands into snow for your snow untappers. If you need to turn, like, a Simic Growth Chamber into a snow land.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome interaction. Love that so much. And maybe... no, you wouldn't play that. But, yeah, there's a few options.
Yeah.
And if you're playing Weavers, you also get access to more consistently being able to play cards like Vidalcan Aether Mage. Or... Not that one. Vigian Graph Mage is the one I'm thinking.
I don't know if it... So this is the Valken, and this is your Wizard Cycler. So it's not the Wizard Cycler. What's this other one?
So Graph Mage is a wizard that you can pay 2 to untap a creature that has a +1/+1 counter on it, and it has Graph 2.
Oh, okay. So if you have that already down, you play your untapper, and it helps you get more untaps with...
So since you have a 4-mana untapper in the command zone, it's a lot easier to get that down and then slap down your untapper after.
Yeah.
But you can also play, like, there's a couple land enchantments that come in and also put a counter on a creature.
Yeah.
So if you have your untapper in play, you can put that counter on without using the graft to just have it. And then your Graph Mage is a lot better. And that's part of the reason for that wizard package as well.
I like, for Weavers, not having played it, I like the haste enchantments. So that way... if you're already tapped out, I'm not giving you opportunities to get involved in what I'm trying to do. And also, if you choose to run more sorcery speed stuff, I'm going to make sure I'm going to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
Are those cards that you played or would play, or are they...
I don't think we had many at the time I was playing Weavers, because I was playing Weavers, like, 3 years ago.
You had so many! Because a Haunted Cloak was already out. So I think like the best ones are the ones that equip for
not
1
even
mana.
3. I don't know, 3, 4 years. I don't know,
Yeah.
but not many good ones. Like Haunted Cloaks was. I don't think we had Haunted Cloak. We had like Whisper Silk, which wasn't haste, but some people played that. I hate that card.
It's 5 mana to do its job, which
and
you
it's
need to
Shroud,
play a very
which is
slow
not
game.
good.
Yeah.
When you're trying to play
that's
free.
right. That's even worse. Yeah.
But like Strider's Harness is a card that I was playing in this a long time in Gretchen even, and Hydroform's taking its place right now.
Gotcha.
But I think Strider's Harness is solid.
And what is the benefit of that over the harnesses or like other haste enablers?
It's blue, so you can search it with your
Merchant
Merchant Scroll stuff.
Gotcha.
It's also 2 mana, whereas Strider Harness is
4 mana to
4
get it
mana, but it's repeatable.
Yeah.
So there have been like 1 in a blue moon turns where it's like you have Strider Harness in play and you go untapper, equip, and you like chain 3 untappers and ritual out before you drop your win condition, so you can draw with Gretchen if you need protection or whatever.
Okay.
Which happens very rarely, but in Weavers that's not happening. So like I think some of the animation lands might be a bit like land animators like Life Spark and Hydroform might be a bit better, but depends on how heavily you're relying on land enchantments versus your commander. Because with your commander, you don't need land enchantments to win with Freed from the Real. Specifically, you still need it for all the other ones, though, because everything else requires more than 1 mana investment. So, like, I'm trying to think if we got any cantrips that give haste in Simic, and I don't think we did. We got a couple more, like, Tameo safekeeping style stuff, which I would definitely be playing in Weavers.
You've got more shore-ups. I think there's now 3 shore-ups.
Yeah.
There's one from...
Those all go in absolutely 100% of the time into Weavers, whereas I'm only playing, like, 1 or 2 right now in Gretchen. Could probably try to squeeze more in, but I like having counter spells because, again, it's more of a mid-rangey deck, and I like to interact.
Yeah.
Whereas Weavers tends to be a bit more greedy. just because
It's so funny hearing you call Gretchen a mid-range deck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like, it has answers, but...
It has answers. I don't
usually
want to
I
use
mid-range
them.
being like the battle cruiser.
Yeah.
I'm going to make creatures and then swing in.
Yeah, whereas I say mid-range is like the game.
I'd love to see you sit down at the table and be like, I'm playing a mid-range deck.
Hey, if you bring this to a CDH table, this is mid-range.
That
Thrasios is mid-range.
Yeah.
In CDH, that's the definition I use.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good point.
That's the game plan. The win condition, I don't really consider a game plan. I don't think combo is an archetype unless you're playing like Dargo Keskit. Like, that's a combo deck. Yeah, like Weavers gets to be a bit more greedy because it has access to presenting the win condition when it wants to so much more consistently, whereas Gretchen has turns where you don't have an option other than I'm going to draw 2 cards with Gretchen and pass, or I guess technically you're passing and then drawing 2 cards with Gretchen, but Gretchen has a lot of those off turns where you're not progressing your board state per se.
Yeah.
You're still drawing cards, ramping a little bit, but you don't get to push the issue and go, oh, I see my freed. It looks like people are going to probably tap out on this turn cycle. I'm just going to play my untapper and hold up 3 pieces of interaction to protect myself and then win on my turn.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that in Gretchen. So I think in Weavers, those shore-up effects are a lot better. I'm still not a fan of the Vitalize cards.
Yeah.
That aren't protection.
They're a little more unidimensional. They don't have the flexibility of also protecting your thing and giving you an advantage.
Which is
you
why
want your cards to do at least every time you can at least 2 things.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I like Gretchen, because you get a lot more modal.
Yeah.
Even the same cards tend to be a lot more modal in Gretchen. Whereas specifically Shore Up is a lot better in Weavers, even modally. Because you can just use it as a Vitalize if you need to. You don't have to use it as protection. And when I play Weavers, sometimes I like to throw that out as a cantrip first. And then if it resolves, it's all right, well, I'll put my Freed on now. It already has Hexproof.
Yeah, so now you have to deal with the thing on the stack.
So if there were 3 pieces of interaction, but people thought it was just a Vitalize, it has Hexproof already, so it sucks to suck. Usually it doesn't work. Usually they just kill it in response. But if it does resolve, it's hilarious.
Sucks to suck.
But yeah, Weavers gets away with a lot of the more cantrippy, I'm just going to untap my card because it's mana positive. But
also, I like that we covered a lot of details, Decklist, specific cards. You're suggesting that there could be bans that would be effective at helping mix up the metagame a bit. But also, I like that your player advice is get good, sucks to suck.
I gave you the Aboro tech, you can beat Aboro.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're hey, here's how you get good. I'll give you a little step, but you got to do the work.
But yeah, some of that stuff where they just get more mana advantage out of their cards that do go mana positive, so they get to play more aggressively and try to put that win on whenever they want to and control that tempo a bit more. Which is why I wouldn't play as many of the 3 mana untap creatures, because you've already got access to 1. 3 and 4 is pretty similar in these kind of decks, whereas 1 and 2 to 4 it's insanely different, so you're always playing the ones that are 2 or less.
Yeah.
No question, I think you need to be playing all 4 of them, or 5, or however many we have at the time you're watching this video. 7, maybe. Because they seem to just keep printing them, and I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, because some of them are pretty recent. Let me look at these. All right, also, let's close this out after.
Yeah,
this was recent. This is Kaldheim. That's Theros. It's a little while ago.
Yeah, no, that's the old one.
And then this is the MOM. What is that? Multiversal something?
Yeah, from the recent Phyrexian set or whatever, the battle set.
Yeah, so 2 of them are pretty recent. And then the other ones are not that old either. Yeah, thank you for taking the time. So, also this has been really cool because I've had questions about these decks, and I think I may have figured this out during one game, but I can't tell if it was just an accident or if I actually consciously knew it in the way that you.
I think you did kill Gretchen with a board.
Oh, was that with you?
Stack. I think you did it to me once.
Yeah, okay.
But then I just recast Gretchen and no one had anything else. So
you just a lot of
yeah, it works. You just have to have 2 pieces of interaction instead of 1 counter spell for a Boro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that covers everything I have to say. Do you have any closing thoughts on?
Hell yeah! Also, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute. I'm looking to see. I mean, the last thing, I wanted to see if you ran the bounce land, which I couldn't see why you wouldn't.
It's too good.
It's so good because you get another activation to get the land back in. Yeah, no, thank you for taking the time. I'm excited to play with you in a little bit here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. I hope this has been educational and fun and interesting. I'm probably going to edit this down a little bit. I don't even know if I'm going to include that. Who knows? But have a good day.